Yes, sir. When I sit back and reminisce and I think about my high school days and everything that I've learned outside of high school compared to high school, I learned a great deal amount of what I know today outside of that indoctrination center. Kids get sent to these schools and they're taught to be workers, obedient people. They're not taught to be critical thinkers. Y'all remember those kids that were wearing Vans back in the day? They got labeled an outcast and shit like that. Not for nothing, I give my respect to those kids because they were always thinking outside of the box. We used to look at them and think like, why are they not, you know what I'm saying, getting down with the program? For the most part, they were Caucasian. Let's call it like it is. This is facts over feelings. They used to be labeled that outcast, the rebel and whatnot. They used to smoke pot and all that shit back then because they were rebelling against the system that's not teaching us a fucking thing. We're not learning about taxes, finances, how to manage money. We're learning today's world, all these liberal ideologies and all these agendas that's getting pushed upon your children. Parents are sending their children to these schools. They're not vetting the schools. They're not vetting who are the individuals that are teaching my children. For the most part, when I ever got kicked out of a class, it was a female teacher that had something to do with it. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some saint and shit like that. I had a mind of my own, and damn sure I had a mouth of my own if I had to say something. I don't really say shit for shits and giggles. Of course, we have some goofing around and shit like that. I remember one time, dude, I'm dealing with this biology teacher and she did forensics outside of the school and whatnot. So I guess she did something for maybe a murder case or a homicide case or something like that, some forensics and whatnot. So she brings her baggage to the classroom. So now I guess everybody's supposed to be feeling bad because she had an emotional day. But what about the students? Aren't you supposed to be professional? Aren't you supposed to be keeping your shit outside of the classroom? So I basically said some shit because the teacher thought that I was saying some shit to a student that was behind me or something. I forgot the exact nature or whatever, but I basically said that that was a false accusation. Can you believe that I got kicked out of this class? This same teacher, I remember, this is how vindictive these females are. And I don't believe that females under 30 should be teaching anybody. Not a fucking thing. Their mind is still developing. They still got all the shit that they're dealing with on the outside. They bring that shit to the classroom. They're flustered. You know when they're in a good mood. You know when they're happy. You know when they're angry. You know when they're sad. But what the fuck does that have to do with me coming to your class to try to learn something? I remember this broad kicked the whole class out of the classroom one time because about 3 students were just saying some goofy shit. And then she didn't like it. The whole classroom got kicked out of a class, all because this female had a power trip. I just don't believe that females should be teaching shit, period. They should just learn how to be wives and mothers and just go about their own. If you want to be a feminist, by all means. You want to be corrupted by all these evil spirits and shit, that's on you. But when it has to do with my children, my nieces, nephews, my people's kids, and all that shit, I'm really telling people to consider homeschool. You have all these kids that's on the spelling bees on TV and whatnot. They're homeschooled. They don't have time for the cesspool called a public school where you're learning about living in comparison, especially in today's world. We ain't have social media back in '08, '07 and whatnot. We had MySpace. People worried about the top 8. We kept that shit to a minimum. But it was not to the magnitude of what it is today, to where these kids are on antidepressants and shit like that. Yes, back then they had kids getting prescribed Ritalin and all that shit. I mean, all these guys being antsy and whatnot. Who the fuck could sit in these hard ass chairs for 50 to 60 minutes or whatever the time limit is to learn about a bunch of bullshit that you're not going to be taking with you once you graduate? But that's another story. We're in Oregon to where it's an anti-lockdown rally. We have small business owners and restaurants that are in danger of losing their business because of this COVID bullshit that has a 99.9 recovery rate. But yet, everybody is in fear for their fucking life. Not only is the fear affecting your immune system, but the choices and the judgments that are being made are going to trickle down to the children. But people are going to have to wake up and realize that the government really does not give a shit about your children like that. That's why the school, which is funded by the government, they have curriculums that are supposed to be taught to your kids so they could be an obedient worker, not a critical thinker, not an entrepreneur, so on and so on. They want you to be a worker, an employee, a sheep, basically a fucking zombie, because it's the Walking Dead out here in this piece. These females with all their baggage, they fucking young kids, so on and so on, they should not be teaching students. All these entitled Beckys and whatnot that don't have their mind developed yet should not be teaching anybody any fucking thing. We don't give a fuck about how book smart you were. You're just book smart. You have nothing else to bring to the table besides that you can follow instructions. The vast majority of these teachers are fucking broke. I don't give a damn what anybody says. A lot of these teachers are fucking broke. They don't give a shit about your student. They only give a shit about their ego and what the fuck they have to do until they get the fuck out of that school system. They don't give a fuck. Yes, there are exceptions to the rule. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule. Nobody has to single out that one teacher that helped them out or whatever the fuck. But for the most part, these females don't need to be teaching anybody until they reach 55 years old. I don't give a fuck. When there's a dispute going on in high school, it's always dealing with a female teacher, dude. Kicking another dude out. Dudes respect male authority more than females. Why do you think there's such a destruction going on when there's a single mom household as opposed to a two-parent household? When teens know they could get over on females more than they could get over on males. Yes, male teachers might be kicking some people out, but not to the degree of female teachers. But the schools don't give a fuck. But the parents need to start giving a fuck a whole lot more because your kids are getting corrupted, and I'm seeing it on a daily basis. A lot of kids are learning about feminism, all this liberal bullshit, all the shit about fuck Trump, the Black Lives Matter bullshit, so on and so on, dude. They're not learning about anything that's productive. All they are learning is to be a fucking social justice warrior / activist / lunatic, aka a fucking idiot. So let's check into this shit because this lunatic right here, I hope she doesn't have a job after this. She needs to go to the mental asylum. Man, the hysteria and the evil spirit that's corrupted this Becky right here, it's not even funny, dude. You could tell she hasn't had her Starbucks cup of coffee yet. She's pissed off. At what? Who is she really mad at? She's flipping bombs. She's a psychopath. This broad is bugged out, dude. There's no excuse for this behavior. She claims that she's a teacher, but she's acting like a straight lunatic. These are the idiots that are at these rallies, looting, burning shit up in Oregon. My dude Dame Lillard that plays for the Trailblazers. You're wasting your prime staying in Oregon. Nobody is going to come to Portland, Oregon, dude. It is a cesspool of bullshit out there. It's a huge fucking dumpster fire. So get the fuck out of there. Didn't mean to digress. But Oregon is a cesspool, man. A liberal fucking campsite of lunatics, man. This broad is very capable of teaching your students. Oh my Lord. Parents, this is the example of who is teaching your kids. This is why your kid goes to school and then they come back home. They want to be disruptive, disobedient, and they want to talk about Donald Trump is a big racist and all this nonsense. All this victim nonsense. You could tell this broad is an entitled, spoiled fucking brat that has never been told no her whole fucking life. Look at her. This is a joke, dude. Parents need to wake the fuck up. Period. This broad is bugged out. And to those that are wondering, she has been placed on administrative leave. And I hope they do not lift that. They only did that shit because social media is the gift and the curse. Damn near everything is getting caught on camera. And that is also the bad thing because people see things and don't understand the context. But we can understand the context of this little 50-second, whatever minute clip that this broad is not capable of teaching anybody shit, period. And of course she's driving a Subaru. That's another story, man. But yo, these broads are sociopaths. I could see this broad on a late night Saturday screaming misogynist and all these isms and ists, all that anger and evil spirit that's corrupted this broad. She needs to go take those antidepressants and drink some wine and go reevaluate herself. But parents, reconsider again homeschooling your children. The government does not give a fuck about your children. They don't give a fuck if your student learns on campus, off campus, remote, whatever the fuck they trying to come up with all these new designations and labels today. You need to learn hands-on, period, point fucking blank. If it was better to learn at your house and all that shit, we all would have been learning online. We need to be in the classroom. They talking about COVID has not been affecting the young ones like that. So why the fuck are schools closed, dude? The government doesn't have an answer for anything, and people need to fucking pull up their pants and put their 2 feet on the ground and start using their voice and their minds. You are giving them for a fucking reason. But a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and a lot of people are wasting it because they want to turn on the news and believe everything that they see. They want to live in fear, treat the government and these politicians like their religion and their God. People need to wake the fuck up because these are the type of people that are teaching your children, dude, and it's sad. I could not fix my face to be in a classroom with a broad like this. I would be getting kicked out every fucking day. This broad is a lunatic and she needs help. I'm out.